Hello and welcome to your daily dose of complete health with your local chiropractor, Dr. Patrick Hogg. Please like and subscribe for more videos.
Good morning, this is your daily dose of complete health with your local chiropractor, Patrick Hogg. And I've got a question. Why do people's backs go so easy? Or why is it that someone's headache is triggered by just a little bit of stress? Or what is it that causes for that person to go back onto the football pitch or sports pitch after they've recovered from an injury only to get re-injured again? That's just really interesting, is that there's a lot of clients that come into our office that are getting repetitive injury strains, traumas, recurring symptoms that are happening time and time again, despite the fact that they're trying to go through rehab, etc., etc., etc. Now, this is a really interesting conversational topic because it brings us into something called adaptive range. Adaptive range is how well can your body cope with stress of the environment. Now, this is really interesting. If you look at something like a piece of copper wire, this is what most of our pipes are made up of in our house, and you bend it, the first time the copper wire will not snap, normally. But if you bend it 4 or 5 times, eventually that copper wire will then bend and break. And our bodies are very similar because most people will go, well, I only went to go and put on my socks, or I only had 2 cups less water today, or I only turned on the football pitch and my back went, or my leg went, or my injury went again. And the question is, was it that one thing that made the back go, or made the leg go, or made whatever injury go? Or was it the umpteen injuries that the body had sustained before that actually caused the issue? Now, when we look at adaptive range, this is our body's capacity or ability to cope with stress on the body. Now, if we have an adaptive range like this, it means that basically our body is not going to cope with stress very, very well. And this is when we see people that are higher risk of injury, e.g. those people that have a very low boundary for being able to cope with stress are typically the ones that are very tight in their muscles, the ones that don't have particularly good muscle activation, they don't have particularly good ranges of motion, they don't have particularly good posture or balance or coordination. So the adaptive range becomes very, very small. When we start to see people recovering and rehabilitating from injuries, what happens to that adaptive range? It becomes much, much bigger, which means their muscles and joints can cope with the stress of all of their activities of daily living, meaning putting on your socks shouldn't be a problem. If someone is struggling putting on their socks, this is a simple task that should cause no injuries. But if someone is struggling to put on their socks, there is only one conclusion that can be drawn. The range has come in. Now, could you imagine with an athlete, someone say, for example, like Mo Farah, who is running miles and miles a week, if his adaptive range was too small, his risk of injury would be increased for every single step of a marathon. And if his risk of injury was increased for every single step of a marathon, you can only imagine his risk of actually getting injury during one of those events. However, he's managed to train and physically adapt his body to cope with that kind of stress. Now, if your body is not adapted or well enough to cope with the stress that you're trying to put it through, this is where injury occurs. Now, sometimes you will be aware of these changes and sometimes you will not. And this is sometimes the reason why people will need a physical therapist, a chiropractor, an osteopath, a massage therapist, a neurologist, or someone to help them to understand why their body is not coping with the environment. This is why it's really important. This is the reason why I personally see my own physical therapist, whether it's a chiropractor or massage therapist or whatever. The reason why I do that is I want to make sure that my body is within its own adaptive range and that it can cope with the stress that I'm putting on with work and with my sports. This is Patrick. This is your daily dose of complete health. We will speak to you very, very soon. Take care and we'll take care.